Okay, we covered digital lettering. Let's cover traditional lettering. So traditional lettering is simply lettering done by hand. The disadvantage to this is the lettering now exists as one with the artwork. So you are unable to move or edit or basically change anything in an easy way. You can obviously use whiteout, you can correct it in Photoshop, but if you need something seriously changed, you're pretty much locked into the lettering that you've drawn with the artwork. The advantage to it, a lot of people like the idea of having the lettering on the page, like an old style piece of comic book art. It's the way that lettering was done pretty much all the way up until the 80s and 90s in the comic book world. Now for the most part, everything is done digitally, but let's go through how to do it by hand if that's your option. Obviously, if you've got really great penmanship, you can probably letter by hand without any kind of guide, but this is what the professionals use. It's an Ames lettering guide. It's available at any art supply store. It's also available on Amazon. It's a really small little tool. It's only about maybe 2 inches by 3 inches, and it's a plastic piece that has little indications in it, little holes, and it has an adjustable wheel. This is so that you can set the size of the lettering that you want to have on your comic book. So you turn this wheel, and that will change the spacing of these little circle elements so that you can make wider, um, more narrow, etc., etc. In order to do this, you're going to need a few things. You need a ruler, preferably a T-square. You need your paper that you're going to be lettering on, and I would suggest taping that down so it doesn't move. You're going to need a really fine point pencil. The architecture pencils are great because you can get almost like a razor tip to those. You're going to need to be precise here. Okay, so you get all your tools together, and you lay the paper down. You put the T-square over it, and you put the Ames lettering guide flush up against the T-square. That is going to give you the ability to keep it straight and allow it to move. Choose the circle or spacing that you're going to use. So you would choose the diameter. You set that on the wheel, and then you place your pencil into the hole, the designated holes, and you drag it across your T-square. You create a line. It obviously, you could say you could just measure and do this too, and yes, you could. The Ames lettering guide is designed to speed up the process. So then you choose the next hole down and repeat. You drag it across the paper, and you'll end up with a series of lines. So that allows you to create the dialogue space and then the space between the dialogue, etc., etc. And you continue to do this until you have the number of lines you want. Now, you don't have to line the entire paper. That wouldn't make any sense. For a very brief period of time, they sold comic art paper that was pre-lined, but it didn't go over well. You can see, in this case, the tool we're using is a non-photo repro blue pencil. That just gives you a lighter line that doesn't reproduce when it's scanned into a 4-color plate process. Problem is, if you're doing this digitally, your artwork, when you scan the page in on a traditional scanner, it's going to pick up the blue. So you're still going to have to erase, you're still going to have to delete those lines. So I'd suggest just using a very light pencil, a very light, soft pencil. So you continue to make your lines going back and forth, choosing your designated holes. It will evenly space those lines so that you can then drop in your lettering. All right, and you want to set it so that you have the correct size letter, space between the letters, and then you build in your lettering just like we did digitally. You want it to appear in a sort of a comfortable, balanced square/circle. Then you would draw your balloon by hand, and that will give you a much more natural looking piece of art, much more natural looking lettering style. The advantage, again, the lettering now exists with the art. It's purer to the original vision of comics, and it's your handwriting. So unlike any other font, there's no chance of anybody else using the same font that you're using. So if you are prone to want to do something like that, I think it's a great experience. I personally don't like this lettering method because I don't like the idea that I am locked into the entire script, narration, dialogue, etc. But definitely, you want to give it a try. Go for it. All right, we're going to talk about creating your own font in the next